Hi.
Hello, possums.
Hi there.
We are here in the gathering room again.
We are
Me and the gracious wombat.
reunited and it feels so good.
Did you know wombats poop in cubes?
Well, I knew that because I live with you. And it's hard not to pick it up.
Because you live with me and poop in cubes? Is that what you're saying?
It's not what I'm saying. And I think you guys know that's not what I'm saying.
Hello! Oh, Donna made it in before Wendy from Guelph.
Christi was first.
Christi came in, busted through the tape. Hello, beauties. How you doing? We are here. Oh, Jordy's still in Melbourne.
Good old Jordy.
Good old Jordy. The wombat is back.
Yeah,
soon she will be back in Pennsylvania, and she will once again resume her role as the gracious badger.
We're in California.
But we're in California right now.
California,
where we've been hanging out with some brand new minted Wayfinder life
including
coaches.
Marianne Burrows.
Hi, Marianne. And talking about things you wouldn't even expect, like sign up for a life coaching program. Discover the world is not real.
Exactly.
It's kind of like at Harvard in the 60s when they were doing all this exploration and expanded consciousness, only we don't use LSD.
No
LSD, no drugs
curriculum
involved in the program whatsoever. But yeah, being in California with a bunch of Wayfinder coaches, it's a bit of a trip, I have to say, like a trippy trip.
It is. Oh, look at all you lovely.
Look at you guys.
Hi, Lisa from Indiana.
And Karen and Melanie and Janice and Gina, all of you wonderful, wonderful people.
Gina's holding the fort in Pennsylvania for us
Thank
we get home.
Keep it nailed to the globe, please, so that it does not get away from us.
Laurie's doing practice coaching call in 30 minutes. Good luck. Say more. Just say more.
Yeah, just say more. Say more. You're done. Yeah. Boom. They fix themselves.
Answers were sparkling. You know what? We are actually looking directly out at the Pacific Ocean, and it is so beautiful. I don't know. Sorry for the motion sickness, y'all.
Ro just saw some dolphins. It was amazing. Nice. Okay, so I think we've got peeps here now.
Yeah. I just want to say hi to you all. We see you.
Hi. We love you.
Plays well with others.
Yeah, plays well with others. This may not be exactly what you're expecting because we kind of plugged it as the creativity thing, and it's about creativity and community, but it came into my mind because of the team. Now, if you've read my last nonfiction book, you probably know what the team is, and it's just, I believe, this is my personal belief that took me 35 years to gag out, hesitantly expecting to be stoned with rocks and garbage, but it is my belief that there is now on the earth a group of people who are born to the archetype of the healer or the medicine person. And every traditional society all around the globe has such people, and they share certain characteristics, like the desire to alleviate suffering. They might be interested in medicine and or psychology, also spirituality, also nature and herbs or herbs for those of you in the normal world. Anyway, there's this cluster of traits, and it's typical of medicine people in a traditional society. And we don't have such a thing as medicine people, but the team is a group of people born to heal everything. And what we have to do is become the healers we were meant to be, to reclaim that archetype and learn to use our gifts in the way that we are meant to heal humans, and healed humans will heal the whole planet. We broke it. You break it, you buy it, right? Like, we broke it, and we're the only thing that's potentially able to fix it. I mean, the poor wombats aren't going to do it.
Hey.
No opposable thumbs, except for Rowan, the gracious wombat. Okay, so one of the characteristics of the team peoples is high levels of creativity and artistry. So that may be music, it may be poetry, it may be storytelling, it may be dance, it may be visual arts, all the arts. And also inventiveness, so it goes for engineers as well. But when we talk about creativity in our society, we're typically thinking in terms of like finger painting and macrame. That's okay. Those things are great. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about I would love to be able to sit around and do those things. But I'm talking about creativity as a much, a kind of deeper concept, because here's the thing. When you start just beginning to heal yourself in order to heal others, what happens is that you gradually reclaim the part of you that is connected to all that is, right? To the divine, if you believe in that stuff, or just the universe, whatever. And because you're reconnecting with the universe, you begin to take on the traits of the universe itself. And the universe's biggest trait is creativity, creation. The God force is the creator. And the more you sort of reintegrate the lost parts of yourself, the more unified you feel within yourself and with all things, the more creative you become. So creativity is this expression of that force within you. And it can come quite as a surprise. Anyway, I do think that if we save the world, one of the ways we're going to do it is with creativity. Well, actually, the only way we're going to do it is creativity, because we have to come up with a creative solution to a lot of very perilous problems. And some of those are about science and technology, but a lot of them are about shifting human perceptions and attitudes, healing humans so that they know not to tear things apart. I just have to give a shout out to all of y'all who may have written to your congressperson or whatever, when last week they announced that they were going to defund Special Olympics. I went into such a state of despair about that. I was just like, ugh. There's, the Special Olympics has been such an angelic presence in my family's life, and I've seen it change the lives of so many other people who have, a lot of them, they just don't have a voice. They can hardly, some of them can hardly express themselves, but they're fully human with all the sorrows and joys and ambitions and disappointments that go with humanity. But there's no one to, I kept thinking there's no one to speak for them. Turns out millions of people spoke for them. And for us, I include myself because I'm so close to the issue. And they rescinded. The president rescinded and put it back in. That was an act of team creativity. Now, team creativity is the concept I want to talk about right now, because here in Catalonia with the Wayfinder coaches, I'm feeling that buzz that happens when members of the team start to connect over the internet, yes, but also in person. And what I'm finding is that there's not the typical model of a creative genius, for example, is somebody who goes off alone and does things. Writing is something you do alone. Painters, Van Gogh isn't in like a hot tub with a bunch of other artists. He's like painting away like crazy and then cutting off his ear and shooting himself. That's sort of the standard. Well, I used to think creativity could not be shared, that it had to come through one brain. I would raise my kids all day and then lock myself in my bedroom and write all night, trying to come up with things that would help the world. And it was very isolating. And that was just on my cross to bear. Yeah. Recently, though, it started when I was writing my last book, my first novel. And my daughter read it and started giving me suggestions. And I realized she's much better at plotting than I am. Not plotting to like kill people, but plotting a book. She'd probably be better at all kinds of plotting, but she's fabulous. So she would not plot badly. And I started having book talks with her. And since then, I literally have not written alone. Then Ro came along, and she's a brilliant writer. And we've done a lot of writing together. I didn't think that writing together was something you could do, but it's all I can do anymore. And then I told you guys last week, I've gone into this orgy of painting. And my other daughter is an artist working in digital media. And we get on the phone and just yap about the different ways we're experiencing art and the different things we're trying to learn. And she was like recommending, apparently there's a show in England called Landscape Artist of the Year. And it's like the baking show only with landscape painting. And I'm trying to get it and I can't. So if anyone knows how to get that to America, they won't show it. See, here's the thing. There's this, I'm feeling, and I have been feeling for the last 3 or 4 years, this explosion of connectivity with the creation of the solutions and of the creations in general of all of us as a team. This is why we created Right Into Light. Ro and I were like, how can we use this? I was so excited to connect with her and with my daughters and with Liz Gilbert. And we were like, how do we get this to the masses? This is amazing, using our writing to connect and lift and heal. And we're like, let's make an online writing thing and see if anyone shows up. And lots of people did. And it's so very, very exciting. So, yeah, just today I was working on my monthly newsletter for Maria Shriver's Sunday paper, and I was working, and it was a really bad piece of work. It's still pretty excrementitious at this point, and it's due. So I was sitting there going, all right, so my premise is, you guys all know this, but maybe some people won't. The opposite of your worst fear is the next step toward your enlightenment. But how do I say that in a way that's familiar? And Ro put her hand up. And then she said this. Your nearest exit may be behind you. We've both just been on planes. And as you see, I wrote it down immediately on whatever came to hand, because that was like the perfect metaphor. That's something we've all heard. Like, turn around and look the absolute opposite way, and you may find the path out of destruction and despair. So it's like, even today, as I was planning this, it was happening and happening. And the more we connect, I've also talked about this, the more we become like a hive mind, like the brain of a plant as opposed to the brain of an animal. As I've told you, the brain of an animal is like a computer. If you wipe out the computer, the animal's dead. But trees keep their brains in their root tips, and there may be millions of them. And you can take out a whole bunch of them, and they function as if each root tip is a computer, and the plant as a whole is the internet. So if you take out part of that, the other part can remain unaffected. By the same token, if one root tip accesses nourishment or water or whatever, it can feed it to the whole organism. So as we come together and start to talk about our creations and our creative impulses, the whole plant starts to wake up, starts to create at higher and higher and higher levels. No question, my writing and my art have gotten much better because of sharing, and I never thought that would be true. So what I want y'all to do is think about what you are feeling compelled to create. And it could be that you're in a dormant period, fields need to lie fallow in order to continue creating harvests. So you don't have to feel creative, but if you do have any creative impulse, if you want to create a baby, if you want to create a new way to wash clothes, if you want to create a cake, if you want to create a machine that will fly to Mars, whatever it is, share it. Share the idea, share it online. Like if you're doing something visual or audio, you know, that you can hear, share it through social media with other people and have them give you feedback. What did they like? What did they not like? What would help? What's a great idea? What ideas do they have for something else you could create? Like, oh, I wish I could draw like you. If I could, I would draw this. Blanc. And sometimes the greatest ideas come from that connection of creative minds and not from just one. So now I'm going to open to questions. So I'm hoping that Gracious Wombat will come back and help me.
I am back, and I found a good question. Now I've got to find it on here.
Not so easy, but we're all here together, creatively helping.
Yes, everyone.
It's all good.
Here we go. Marianne Burrows, I should have known. She
Yes.
asks, do you believe that the creative consciousness is alive and available for all of us to tap into? Liz Gilbert talked about this in her book, Big Magic.
I would
who?
not say the creative consciousness is alive. I would say the creative consciousness is life. Like there's no way, the two are identical. Is it available to us? Only always. Yeah, I mean, it's who we are. Even if you're unconscious and in a coma, it's still available. It's breathing through your lungs. If you're conscious at all, if you're alive at all, it's working through you. And if your body drops away, it's still there. And yeah, that's the part that's like doing a macrame as well. The creator of universes has made a pot holder. Why not? You know?
I love macrame.
Yeah.
All right, Donna asks, how do you find the team to create with that supports your inner creativity rather than those who may derail your unique creativity?
Well, the first thing is to get creative about connecting with other creatives. So it all comes down to thinking up new ideas. And then the other thing is just like feel your feelings. Because if somebody comes, we got harassed yesterday. We were walking in Pismo Beach. And some punk walks by and he goes, "Nice scarves, ladies." I mean, I have no idea why he was using that as an insult. It was clearly an insult.
Yeah.
And we were like,
he was trying to harass us, but he was new to it.
yeah, he was a new harasser. He was like a very inexperienced troll. So all he knew to do was give us a sardonic compliment. Why did I bring that up?
I don't know, but I'm so
No
glad you did
idea.
because I've been wanting to share that.
I have no idea. Wow, I completely lost my train. If it comes back, I will address it again.
I don't know, did you say about how they find the team?
Oh, yeah, right. So obviously, that guy is not somebody I want to join up with in my search for other people on my wavelength. So you just veer away from those people. That was my point, yes. I found a way to shoehorn it in. And you'll actually feel an energy that pulls you toward, almost physically, and sometimes very physically actually, will push you or pull you toward people who are important in your life and away from people you're meant to avoid. So you've got a very strong set of instincts that are working on this all the time. Just pay attention to them. They will take you to the right peeps.
Lara just called that person a troll cub. And actually, I want to put Lara up because I think this is a fairly common thing. Lara is one of our amazing Will alumni.
Oh my God, she's so smart.
And Will is writing to light. And Lara says, I want to create a book, but I don't entirely know what I want to say yet. Once I figure that out, the words will come. And it's not a question, but I think, I know that there's that sense of the creative impulse that doesn't have the concrete kind of foundation.
Yeah,
yet.
and I've actually read writing guides way back in the day that would say, just write ahead, scene by scene, see what the characters want to do. I don't buy that anymore because life is short and I've got things to do. Here's what I would say. Go for book talk. Find some other people like there were other great writers.
You know those people,
the
Lara.
great writers that came into contact together through writing play. So go to your other Willites and talk about the book, bash it around a little, see what the themes really are. It was so funny. I'm going to be a little braggy here. I was actually in a Hollywood meeting, well, both of us were, about potentially developing my last book into some kind of a movie or Netflix thing. And the potential star was sitting right there, an actress I adore who would be perfect. And she's also incredibly smart. And so at one point, I turned to her and I said, well, here's what happens in the next book. And I described what the next book, but I found myself describing a book I'd never thought about before. Somehow in that meeting where everybody was talking about the first of these 3 books that I'm planning to write the last 2 of, and I started to tell this woman I respect so much, whose mind is so amazing, it just suddenly new ideas were coming to me and they were right. And I honestly believe that happens when we are in contact with other people. I've literally had the experience of coaching a composer and suddenly being able to write music, or coaching a computer scientist and suddenly becoming a complete computer nerd and understanding things about computers that I shouldn't have understood. I've had the experience of going to different countries and suddenly finding it much easier to learn the language because the people around me were thinking in it. It's really weird, but it happens. It's a great reason to have book talk, is what we call it, writing talk. But you can also have art talk, cooking talk, engineering talk. You just brainstorming together.
Karen.
It's the most fun there is, really.
Oh, it is. Karen says, any suggestions to become a creative leader and persevere when you don't receive feedback on a worthy idea?
Yeah, that is the big issue for all of us. Like, people don't want to give feedback. And feedback is it takes a lot to give feedback. You have to like really receive and look at something and take the time to go into somebody else's project. So it's not as easy. It's not easy to get feedback. That's for sure. And when you do get it, it can be very demoralizing because let's face it, what all of us want to hear is, that's amazing. It's perfect. Send it into the world. You will be a billionaire. Karen said to me the other day, boy, if that Liz Gilbert, she's such a ray of sunshine. If she could bottle what she exudes, she'd be a millionaire. And I said, she does, and she is. So why did I bring that up?
Don't look at me. This is the day of random anecdotes, and
feedback.
I love it.
Right. So, yes, we all want to have the world say, oh my God, you bottled that, we will give you $1 million. But most of us don't get that feedback. I got feedback just yesterday on my writing that made me plunge into the sea of despair. And I am climbing back out. But all it was is, look, this isn't quite working. Kill me right now. So I've been really focusing on the wonders of this process, but it's not. One of the best things about it is that you will find people, if you start to look, who will give you the negative feedback you need. And at first it really stings, but then you'll recognize it as really making things better. Like when I wrote a scene and my daughter wrote back, you have neglected to give your characters personalities. I was like, damn it! Mother Bickerdike! So yes, you want to elicit feedback by offering it to other people, but make a serious bargain. We are going to give each other feedback. And it can't be something where you're just going to throw it into the internet and tons of people will give you constructive feedback, because you'll either get trolled to death or people will be too busy with their own stuff. It kind of has to be a trade to feel reciprocal, to be sustainable. So get together with other people who will give each other feedback on whatever your creative project is. And I guarantee you will both be frustrated temporarily and incredibly liberated by getting that feedback from each other. Yep. Megan
says, do you find that sometimes those creative groups can just be an excuse to not create?
Yeah. Yep. I've joined, before I got published, I joined and left several. I had one group of 4 women who really kept going. And that was a great blessing. And now I have people around me who keep going to the finish. And I just don't have time for anyone else. No, if you're just there to talk about why you're not writing or why you're not creating, have fun. I call that faux work, F-A-U-X, false, the French word for false. It's not real work. It is a substitute for actual work. And people sit around and they can be really, really, for example, critical of movies and books and how they're like the books today. This book was so stupid and I didn't like this thing and I didn't like that thing and I didn't like the other thing. And my suggestion is, if you're in that kind of conversation, everybody stop and write a better book. And suddenly the bitching stops, like you've run into a glass wall, because you realize it's really hard to write a good book. So yeah, no faux work on the team. We have too much to do too quickly. So,
alrighty, I agree. Christi says, how do we handle the tough responses when our creativity is a tender seedling?
I hope your creativity is always a tender seedling. It should be coming from the core of you, and it's very open and raw and vulnerable. And you just realize that it's going to take a few wallops. I had a karate teacher once who had cerebral palsy, and he had like 3 black belts, but he fought on his knees because his legs didn't work like other people's. And the first thing he did at a certain level of his karate class was he'd just line all his students up and then he'd come and just hit us really, really hard. And he'd do that repeatedly, not like lethally, but he'd just kind of go, how are you doing? And we'd be like, Mother Bickerdike, you really hit me. And he'd go, yeah, and you're still fine, aren't you? And that gets you through the fear of being hit, the knowledge that you can take a hit, and that allows you to stay in the fight and have a literal fighting chance. So I think that's kind of how I deal with feedback. I just take the hits and realize that they're going to be cripplingly painful for a while. But then if something actually, there are two kinds of feedback. And if something is vague, general, and makes you feel like there's nowhere to go, that is not good feedback. That is bad feedback, and you should ignore it. There's another kind of feedback that stings. It's like, ow, youch, like you have neglected to give your characters personalities. It stung because it was true. And when it stings because it's true, there's pain, but it's like an antiseptic in the wound rather than a sepsis, like an infection. So accept the things that sting but feel true and work with those, and you'll end up being so grateful for them. And if something feels infectious and disgusting and it doesn't motivate you to act, do not pay any attention to it. I intend to continue wearing my scarves.
Anya asks, will you create a paint into light, please?
Okay.
Have fun with that thing. Stay tuned. I feel a project coming on. All right, so a few people. Oh, look, her lies are going into painting mode. No, stop.
Okay.
Okay, Donna and a few people have asked versions of, what do you do about the fear that someone might take your idea or concept?
Here's the thing. If somebody imitates you exactly, sue them. But if they just mimic you, nobody can actually capture what it was that made your idea so delicious. So many people, I was told when I started writing, you can write for any genre except young adult fiction. That genre is dead. There's no money in it ever. People just do it as love projects. Then J.K. Rowling wrote the Harry Potter books and became richer than the Queen. And everybody and their dog's uncle started writing books about magical tweens who are spirited away to, I don't know, an island where there's a special camp for magicians. And they're all imitating J.K. Rowling. They're all imitating Harry Potter. And they're like, total flat beer. Because J.K. Rowling had the love, man. She had the rage to master. There's something about real creativity that is pouring through you. And when you integrate yourself, it becomes very strong. And people can try to imitate it as much as they want. They will fail.
The creativity and the gold of the creativity isn't in the idea. It's in how you deliver it. It's in what you do with it. And they're either plagiarizing or they're doing it wrong.
And even the idea, it's weird. People can recite, like I've watched people, you know how obsessed I am with Byron Katie, and she has her work is something that you memorize and do word for word and over and over and over. And I've seen people do it and just fall completely flat with the same words. When she does it, it's sheer genius. And she wants other people to imitate her, but you have to find your own art with that, because if you don't infuse it with truth, it has no power. So yeah, the darkness has very little power. Light overcomes darkness. A little candle in a very big room will give light, but an unlit candle in a bright room will not make dark. So the dark things that come after you are not as powerful as the light within you. That's why we call it right into light. Create a light. If somebody else lights their own light beside you, it'll be different, and it will just brighten things for everybody.
Well, that's very lovely. We've got a lot of support here in our scarf wearing.
Oh, thank you so much.
We've got a lot of people coming on. I actually think that there's a chance that our scarf guy actually turned up today here to give us another little compliment. Now, forgive me if I'm being too self-centered, but I think Nick came to tell us, the sinners, maybe.
Oh, for sure.
That we're going to be saved. So that's nice. Thank you,
There you
Nick.
go.
That's always good to hear.
Awesome. Boy, that is awesome for us sinners, right?
Isn't it?
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks about the scarves.
Oh, look at these people talking about, there are a lot of comments about light and turning on the lights for the rest of the team and for each other. That's really what creativity is. It really isn't different, as I said, from consciousness, which I also believe is connected to light for several reasons. It's so funny how all these different cultures all recognize light the quality of light as being something connected with happiness, salvation, and the divine. Because like things that move at the speed of light, as I talked about a couple of weeks ago, don't experience the passage of time. If you are moving at the speed of light, that is, if you are light, you can be everywhere in the universe at the same time. There is no time, and there is no distance, and there is no disconnection in light. And ultimately, that's what creativity is. It's the bringing to light of new and gorgeous things. And each thing you bring to light will be something that only you could create. But when we all get together, the light shines brighter in each and every one of us. And together, we may create quite the illumination. Mm-hmm. So that's the gathering room for aujourd'hui. And we will be going back to Pennsylvania and come to you from your usual broadcasting station at that time. Thank you guys so much for being here. Lots of love. Mwah, mwah, mwah. See you soon.
Love you.